They said it almost like a challenge. If you don't like her jokes, just pay and leave. No one's forcing you. I smiled politely. Thanks for the option. I stood, placed cash from my own plate on the table, and walked out without another word. Their laughter followed me like a cheap scent, until it stopped. That's when they realized I'd only paid for myself. By sunset, her engagement ring was no longer on her finger. It was back in the store, sitting beneath cold glass. My name is Natalie Kerr. And if you think this was only about an awkward dinner, you're wrong. What happens when love turns into performance, and respect isn't even on the guest list? It began with that dinner. The one I paid for. The one that, emotionally, wasn't mine. Her, my brother's fiancée, she had a habit of mocking me. Career girl, she'd say. Too single to understand real life. Everyone laughed, even my mother, who once told me I was too sensitive when I cried about my father's silence. That night, I let the jokes land, pretended they didn't cut. But inside, I was taking mental notes. Because their engagement party wasn't just anywhere. It was at a boutique restaurant I co-owned. The place they were so proud to be invited to. They thought they were mocking me on my turf. They didn't realize I could pull the entire table out from under them. And the ring? That was simple. A few calls, one email, proof of purchase, all mine. Because guess who fronted the down payment on the diamond they bragged about? I watched the sun dip from my apartment window that evening. The receipt was in my inbox. The refund was pending. That's when the messages started. Natalie, what did you do? Where's the ring? We need to talk. I didn't respond. Not yet. Sometimes silence isn't weakness. It's the drumbeat before the storm. The first call came from my brother. Not a voicemail, but FaceTime, which he only used when he was panicking. I let it ring. Then came the texts. Please talk to me. She's freaking out. We were taking pictures and then she noticed the ring was gone. You didn't have to go this far. But didn't I? Because here's what he never admitted. I paid for that ring. When he couldn't afford what she wanted, he came to me. I'll pay you back next quarter. Just help me out this once. I wired the money quietly. He got the proposal he wanted. She got the sparkle. And I got silence. No thank you. No acknowledgement. Just a seat at the far end of the table while she joked about people who don't understand commitment. That night, on my walk home, I passed the jeweler's storefront. Was it an impulse? No. That decision had been simmering since the moment she called me the family's background character. The return was easy. My name, my ID, my receipt. The refund went into a new account he didn't know existed. Now she was posting cryptic Instagram stories. An empty ring box, a close-up of smeared mascara, and a quote, "Some people smile while ruining your life." I laughed. They thought I ruined a proposal, but I was simply reclaiming a debt. By noon the next day, my mother called. "You're being spiteful," she said. I asked calmly, "Should I have stayed and paid for everyone again?" Her voice wavered. That's not the point. But it was. The point was, I had value to them only when I was quiet and generous. Now that I was neither, I was the villain. She hung up without another word. That afternoon, I took a long walk. No music. Just the city breathing around me. And somewhere between 9th and Madison, I realized I didn't regret a thing. Because when they gave me the option to pay and leave, they forgot the second half. Leave and take everything you ever gave. By the next morning, they had shifted from outrage to damage control. My brother texted, "Can we just talk? We can work this out." She posted again, a bare hand with the caption, "Some women lose rings. Others lose self-respect." It was followed by a playlist called Betrayal, Broken Heart. It would have been funny if it weren't so painfully performative. I stayed silent. No clarifications, no apologies. Just watching the show from a front row seat I never asked for. Later that day, the restaurant manager called. "Hi, Natalie," he said cautiously. "We just got a panicked call from your mother. She mentioned there might be a mistake with the booking." I leaned back in my chair. "No mistake," I said. "The event went exactly as planned." He hesitated. "She implied there might be photos from the dinner that didn't come out right. Something about the lighting or ambience." I smiled. I knew exactly what she meant. They were trying to rewrite the story. The reality was that her eyes were red from crying. The waiter had served the wrong wine after I updated the bottle list last minute, and I'd removed my tab an hour before leaving. And the photos? The photographer knew precisely where to focus. Her bare hand. No ring. A story with no sparkle. That evening, I replied to one message. My brother's. All I wrote was, "The ring was collateral. You defaulted." He responded with a string of angry dots. "You're blowing this out of proportion." I put my phone down. Because when people are used to you being the one who smooths things over, the moment you let it burn, they call you the arsonist. But I wasn't burning anything. I was simply turning off the gas I had been supplying for years. By that night, the family group chat had turned into a battlefield. My aunt wrote, "Natalie, whatever this is, you need to fix it. It's her engagement, not a prank." Cousin Tara sent a message to the family chat. "You've all dragged Natalie for years, and now you're shocked she's finally done?" Then came the voice note to my mother, her tone tight, words measured, the familiar guilt weapon she kept holstered until moments like this. "We raised you better. You've made your point. Don't ruin your brother's life over a ring." I played it twice, listening to how calmly she still tried to control me. My brother's life. Interesting. No one had ever been concerned when I was the one swallowing discomfort at every family dinner, pushing through dry chicken and forced toasts. No one panicked when the jokes kept coming, and the laughter always landed squarely on me. She could insult my clothes, mock my single status, downplay my career as if it were a hobby, and everyone would just giggle. Even that night when I excused myself to the bathroom, not because I needed to, but because I was choking on invisible dust, no one checked on me. But now I was the one ruining lives. I left my apartment and walked into the jewelry store again. The man behind the counter looked up, recognition in his eyes. "Back again?" he asked. I nodded. "I want to pick something else." He tilted his head. "A ring?" "No," I said. "A chain. Small. Quiet." He brought out several options. I chose a simple gold chain, light, understated, the kind of piece you buy for yourself, not for approval. I handed him the refund card from the engagement ring. "I'd like to pay with this." His smile was faint, almost cold. I shrugged. "Exactly." That evening, I wore the chain to a local poetry reading alone. Hair tied back, step steady, the piece resting against my skin like a reminder. When my phone buzzed with yet another call from my brother, I powered it off. They'd taught me how to pay. Now they were learning how I leave. They kept trying to salvage the story. She posted a photo, hand-angled just enough to hide the missing ring, captioned, "It's not about the diamond, it's about the love." But her tight smile and dull eyes told the truth. Then came the blog post from her best friend. Yes, an actual blog post. Titled "What Happens When a Jealous Sibling Sabotages Your Future?" It was a fictional retelling of that dinner, complete with soft lighting and selective details. She claimed I'd stormed out screaming, thrown a napkin, and carried bitterness since their engagement, while completely ignoring the one fact that dismantled it all. The ring wasn't hers. And worse, they all knew it. Every single one of them. But rewriting history was easier than facing the mirror. So, I wrote my own version. Not for a blog, not for the family chat. I sent a short direct email to her brand's business sponsor, the one whose logo appeared on every candle box she sold. Subject line, "Financial disclosure discrepancy. Former funder speaking." I attached the invoice, payment records, and refund log. No commentary. Just facts. By the next day, her collaboration page was gone. By the next week, her online shop quietly closed. And I still wasn't finished. I made one last move. The restaurant I co-owned, the same place that hosted their engagement dinner, had full security footage from that night. I requested it. Not to post or expose, but to keep, in case anyone ever tried to twist the truth again. The best moment came at minute 43. The camera caught her turning the ring on her finger, frowning, and whispering to my brother, "Are you sure she knows you'll pay her back?" He didn't respond, because deep down, they all knew this wasn't some sudden outburst. It was a debt, quietly accumulating interest, and repayment had only just begun. The engagement ended quietly on a Wednesday. No big announcement. Just a change in relationship status and the sudden disappearance of every forever post. No one said my name. But I could feel it lingering in the air, like static, like smoke from a fire they swore never existed. My brother stopped calling. Stopped texting. Then one night, I saw him standing outside my building, hands in his pockets, looking like someone who'd finally realized silence has a price. I didn't invite him up. He just stood there. After a moment he said quietly, "I know you think I used you." I raised an eyebrow. "Think?" He sighed. "I was just trying to make her happy. And I was just trying to keep the family from falling apart," I replied. "But we can't keep bleeding for people who bring knives to the table." He nodded. Didn't argue. Then he handed me a small envelope. Inside was a check. Half the cost of the ring. "It's what I could pull together," he said. "I know it doesn't fix it." "It doesn't," I interrupted. "But it's a start." He turned to leave but paused. "You scared them, you know." I smiled faintly. I wasn't trying to scare anyone. I was just done being quiet. When he left, I stood in the hallway holding the envelope. Not because I needed the money, but because, for the first time, it felt like someone saw the damage they helped create. That night, I opened a blank document on my laptop. Title: How to Leave Without Losing Yourself. It wasn't a blog. Not yet. Just a blueprint, for every woman who's ever been told to just pay and leave, so that next time, they leave too, lighter, freer, and with their spine intact. By Friday, the engagement was barely holding together. Whispers were spreading into spaces she couldn't control. Vendors stopped returning her calls. A joint photo shoot was cancelled, not due to scheduling, but because the photographer didn't want drama on set. My brother finally texted, "Is this really worth it to you?" That word, worth, felt heavier coming from him. I thought about everything I'd covered over the years. Not just the ring, but the rent he couldn't make, the rides, the quiet Uber trips home after family dinners when I needed to cry in peace. He knew the cost. He just never expected me to send the invoice. So I replied with a single sentence. "Ask yourself why I didn't blink when I took it all back." He never answered. But the silence this time didn't feel like victory. It felt like a boundary, one that had never existed before. That night, I went out, not to distract myself, but to celebrate. A gallery opening. My friend had a piece on display, a single portrait titled The Uninvited. It showed a woman at a long table, empty plate, full glass, eyes that saw everything. I stood in front of it for a long time. She didn't look like me physically, but I recognized the way she existed. Present yet erased, generous but excluded, until she finally stood, left, and took everything with her. At the end of the event, the artist hugged me. "I didn't use your name, but you were the inspiration," she whispered. For once, I wasn't background. I was the story. I walked home, heels clicking against wet pavement, the gold chain catching the streetlight. Quiet, unflashy, but mine. I deposited the check into savings. Not to spend, but to remember. Because every time I'd emptied my pockets for family, they told me it was love. And every time I asked for respect in return, they called me dramatic. Now, the silence didn't sting. It healed. Weeks passed. Her candle business never reopened. My mother unfollowed me on everything. My father sent one-word texts. "Okay. Fine. Heard." My brother faded from view. But none of it felt like a loss. Because I'd stopped asking for a seat at tables I'd paid for but was never welcome at. One afternoon, I returned to the gallery. The portrait, The Uninvited, had sold to someone in London. The artist smiled at me. "She saw herself in it," she said. I nodded. "So did I." She paused. "You were always in the frame, they just cropped you out." That night, I lit one of my own candles. No brand name. No glossy packaging. Just soft wax and a steady flame that flickered like it knew what I'd survived. When the light reflected off the gold of my quiet chain, I smiled. Not because I'd won. Not because they'd lost. But because I'd stopped buying seats at tables where my name was never spoken with care. Sometimes, the best revenge is peace no one can borrow.